What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everyone's doing well out there today. It's week 18. We're talking about running backs. We're going to start and sit in fantasy football. We promised 18 weeks of content, and here we are in week 18, the NFL regular season coming to an end, and a little bit different of a format today, right? In this part of the season, we're just trying to find players who have something to play for, that are actually going to be on the field, that are not going to be rested. So we're going to have things looking a little bit differently, but still a lot of great information. But before we get into all the names, I want to make sure I make a little statement here, preface to the video today. Now, Kyle had a great statement in a members-only video yesterday that was put out. But it's concerning the Damar Hamlin situation, and our thoughts and prayers still going out to that young man. That is bigger than football. That is bigger than fantasy football. That is bigger than a game at this point. And we're starting to get to the point where we're getting a lot of questions, and I understand them. I do. But this is not a time to have somebody else tell you how to handle your fantasy football league. It's going to come down to a league-by-league situation, and you're going to have to talk to your league mates. I know for some people that's really hard, but if you really want to settle this in a positive way, it's communication. Now, one of the biggest issues that we have maybe in this world nowadays is communication, and this is a perfect opportunity for a lot of people to talk to each other and come to some common ground, come to a decision that really, benefits maybe everyone. There's so many other ways out there to determine who's going to win your fantasy football championship than going on social media, than going in the YouTube comment section and trying to complain or act like you were screwed out of a title or you did this. There's so much more going on that's so much more important at this time. I'm not going to deal with any of that toxicity in my community. If I see any of that in any of our videos down below in the comment section, I'm going to just block you. And I'm not even going to warn you about it, because that's not what this community is all about. This community from the very beginning has been people first, has been a positive way for people to come and enjoy a game meant to be fun. If you come here with anything other than that, maybe we're not the place for you, but we have so much good information we want to talk about with you here today. I wanted to make sure I just preface that, because I am a player-first guy. I will defend players 99.9% of the time. It's why I don't tolerate people coming and calling people trash. I mean, that's just not what this is all about, right? That's just not who I am, and I'm not going to change it now because the circumstances are a little bit different. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and dive in to all the players we're talking about here today. And this is how we're going to kind of preface this video. I went through all the running backs and I gave them a color. Green for having something to play for, yellow and there's a chance that they could sit, and red that I really didn't want anything to do with. I then went through each individual matchup and tried to find out if there's anybody that could move from one section to another. Is anybody in the green section that should probably be moved down to yellow? Is there anyone in that yellow section that, even though there's a chance they could be rested, I'm willing to take that risk and I'm going to put them up into the green? Maybe they have no reason to rest their starters. Let's put them up in the green for that potential volume this week. And this is what we came up with. Let's go ahead and throw up all the green running backs as of right now. Now, these are the guys that I feel the most comfortable with starting. Now, these are not rankings. Taylor, zoom in. Zoom in, Taylor. These are not rankings. One time for the people in the back, these are not rankings. We will have a separate ranking video come out later in the week. This is just an overall snapshot of these games. But we're going to go ahead and start it right here at the top. We got Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon of the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs still have something to play for, right? They still have an opportunity at the #1 overall seed in the AFC, some home field advantage. So we know these guys have something to play for. Pacheco, a little bit more of a flex play, a lower tiered option. Somebody with that safer floor. Jerick McKinnon been just scoring touchdowns here as of late. He has the higher ceiling and somebody that a lot of people are continuing to start. Josh Jacobs, we're not going to sit Josh Jacobs. Now, obviously, the Raiders are eliminated, but Josh Jacobs is technically slated to be a free agent next year. Really no reason to rest starters in what was already a pretty crappy year overall for the Raiders, so I expect Josh Jacobs to be out there. Derrick Henry, he was rested last week, right? They rested him last week for this game. They're playing for the AFC South title. It's a playoff spot on the line. You know that Derrick Henry has something to run for. He'll be out there in this green safer section as well, along with his opponent, Travis Etienne. A very difficult matchup for Etienne, though. But like I said, they're fighting for that playoff spot. It's going to be at Jacksonville, at home for these guys. A difficult matchup for Etienne, but don't forget this big playability that we've seen from Travis Etienne throughout the season is the reason what makes him have that higher ceiling, right? We've seen the big plays, and we're starting to see them more frequently once again after that midseason injury, so we're still starting Travis Etienne, Ramondre Stevenson. I know he's let you down the last couple of weeks. I know it sucks that Damian Harris is back, but what's even crazier than that is the New England Patriots have a chance at a wild card berth in the playoffs. Never would have thought that would have been imaginable with the way they started their season. One of their best options on offense all year long has been Ramondre Stevenson. Difficult matchup in Buffalo, but I would start him once again this week. Najee Harris been playing great the second half of the season, and still, technically, the Pittsburgh Steelers have a shot at the wild card as well. Going to continue to feel okay about Najee Harris. The ceiling hasn't been overly high, but the floor has drastically improved here over the last few weeks. Miles Sanders been a disappointment here as of late, but now all of a sudden, what looked like the Philadelphia Eagles having this division, this conference like locked down, not so much. They kind of need to win this game to have a chance at the number one overall seed in the NFC, home field advantage as well. Do we see Jalen Hurts? Do we not see Jalen Hurts? There's still questions surrounding that. Miles Sanders getting volume but hasn't done much with it in a game that Philadelphia wants to win. I have Miles Sanders a little bit higher, along with both Zeke and Tony Pollard. These guys have been starts for months, and I don't care that they play on the same team. I have people still asking me, hey, do you start both of them if you have them both? And honestly, I'm not opposed to that, especially in another must-win game, another team that has a chance at that number one overall seed. They're going up against the eliminated Washington Commandos. So yeah, Tony Pollard, Zeke Elliott, they're up in the green section. Austin Eckler going up against Denver. They're trying to still win in LA. They've already come out and said, hey, we're not going to rest our starters. Do I entirely believe that? I believe that their starters start the game, but do they play all four quarters? That's what has me worried. They do have an opportunity to get up one higher seed to the number 5 seed. So that is an opportunity where if they get a late game lead, that maybe they pull some of their studs and just try to win that game with some of their backups and improve their spot there by one spot. What about Kenneth Walker, the Seattle Seahawks? They're still playing for a wild card spot. He's going up against the Los Angeles Rams. Not a great matchup, but Kenneth Walker running pretty well here over the last couple weeks. Christian McCaffrey going to remain in the green, obviously. I mean, he's going up against the Arizona Cardinals, and the San Francisco 49ers are still playing for that number 1 overall seed and home field advantage as well in the NFC. We got both Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift in a game that they really want to win going up against the Green Bay Packers. Now, the Lions still technically playing for a wild card chance, but there is an opportunity that they could be eliminated prior to this game being played on Sunday Night Football. However, Dan Campbell has already come out and said, listen, even if we're eliminated from the playoffs, we're going to do our best to play spoiler and keep Green Bay out as well. Remember, Green Bay has to win to get in as well. They're going up against Detroit in this matchup with that chance for the wild card berth. It's going to be a fun game to watch for the very first time, and I can't tell you how long. The last game of the season for the Detroit Lions is probably going to be pretty exciting to watch. So we also have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon up there in the green section as well. Tyler Algier going up against Tampa Bay. Now, Tyler Algier is obviously, they're eliminated from the playoffs, right? The Falcons are not going to the playoffs, but the volume he's seen here as of late, and this is a kid that needs more reps in this offense. There's no reason to rest him, really. I expect him to play against Tampa Bay, who could be resting some of their players. Joe Mixon still in the green section, going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Remember, they're playing for the AFC North Division this week. Still kind of unsure whether or not they have a chance at the number 1 overall seed due to what happened in last week's ball game. So that's something to pay attention to as well. Nick Chubb, he's eliminated. The Browns are eliminated. They're going up against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has something to play for. Do I see a world in which Nick Chubb sees 25 carries this week? Maybe not. I do expect the Cleveland Browns to maybe sprinkle in a few of their younger running backs to kind of see what they have there to end the season. Nick Chubb, though, still one of those guys that I expect to be right around 15 to 18 touches and could be a decent start, a lower end start for you here this week. Cam Akers been running great against poor defenses. Now he gets Seattle. No reason for them to rest him in LA. I expect Cam Akers to be out there. James Conner, another one of those situations where really nothing to play for, but really no reason to rest their starters in Arizona. Most of their starters are hurt anyway. James Conner, very difficult matchup for him, though, going up against San Francisco in a game that San Francisco wants to win, so that's something to pay attention to. And then Brian Robinson going up against Dallas. Obviously, the Washington Commandos have been eliminated from the playoffs. even though Ron Rivera didn't know that last week after they lost. But I do expect Brian Robinson to continue to command touches in this backfield, especially with Antonio Gibson banged up. I wouldn't be surprised if Antonio Gibson is ruled out. All right, now let's go down to the guys in yellow. These are guys that I'm a little bit worried about playing because they could be rested or their situation is just not great. And let's start off right here with, damn it, Devin Singletary of the Buffalo Bills going up against New England, playing for that chance at the #1 overall seed, home field advantage. The ceiling just a little bit too low here because there's still that opportunity that James Cook is more involved than maybe we would like him to be, and that'll take the ceiling away from Devin Singletary. Both Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson Jr. down here in the yellow section going up against the Jets. They're playing for a chance at the wild card, so why are they not up in the green, Jake? Well, this backfield usage is pretty dang inconsistent, a difficult matchup against the Jets, and at the time of this recording, we don't even know if Teddy B is going to be able to play after dislocating his pinky finger last week. There's a chance that he doesn't, and it's Skylar Thompson. That worries me a little bit for a split backfield, so as of right now, these two guys down in the yellow. James Cook, we mentioned him with Devin Singletary in that split backfield. Damian Harris, obviously he's going to be somebody who gets touches in this backfield, but hasn't seen enough volume to really be somebody we can consider starting yet. You got J.K. Dobbins of the Baltimore Ravens. You never know if it's going to be him or Gus Edwards in a game going up against Cincinnati that Cincinnati has to win. There's some concern there. Cordero Patterson, even though he had a great game last week, it's been the Tyler Algier show and a team that has nothing really to play for either. How about both Leonard Fournette and Rachaad White? A little bit of risk there because Tampa Bay has already clinched. They really can't improve their situation, and there's already reports coming out there could be resting their starters. What does that really look like? What kind of split do we see? Both Fournette and White, even though their ceilings have been pretty high here as of late, so put them down into the yellow risky category along with Dalvin Cook. They've already started resting their starters in week 17, right? We saw a downtick in usage from Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson last week. I expect the same this week, so he's going to be a little bit riskier along with his, partner in crime there, Alexander Mattison. Now, if they come out before the game and say, hey, Dalvin Cook's going to sit, all of a sudden Alexander Mattison becomes somebody that we're really interested in. But if they're really still going to play both of these guys in just a limited form or fashion, that's why Mattison is still a risk as well. We got David Montgomery of the Chicago Bears going up against Minnesota. Another one of those situations, they're eliminated, nothing really to play for. Now we have Khalil Herbert in the mix. We know Justin Fields is going to be running as well. Not overly excited to start David Montgomery. Zach Moss, I'm never excited to start Zach Moss, even though he has a great matchup going up against Houston that has just been, they've had like an open gate policy in Houston here as of late for running backs just to run directly down the field. But it's still Zach Moss, so there's going to be some risk there. If you really need somebody, he is an option for sure. Bam Knight going up against Miami. Miami having to win that ball game. The Jets not really playing for anything. Mike White wanting to push the ball down the field a little bit more. Could hurt the ceiling of Bam Knight, Donta Foreman, Chuba Hubbard. They're both eliminated last week in Tampa Bay. They have nothing really to play for, but it's one of those split backfields that we haven't really been able to get much out of here. Now, obviously, was 2 weeks ago, they ran absolutely wild, but the consistency just isn't there for Carolina. And honestly, watching Sam Darnold play firsthand last week in Tampa Bay, I sat there and watched Sam Darnold, and this kid is playing great football. He knows exactly where he's going to go. He's delivering the ball on time. Wide receivers are making plays. Sam Darnold is looking pretty good putting the ball down the field, so I don't have that warm fuzzy about Foreman or Hubbard. Jaylen Warren, obviously we know that he saw some added work this past week. There's a chance he sees that once again, but this is still a game that Pittsburgh really wants to win, and if they get a lead late, maybe expect a little bit more Najee Harris between the tackles. Saquon Barkley, really don't know if the Giants are going to rest people or not. Nothing to really go off of with Brian Daboll being he's a first-time head coach here. Now, obviously, they've already clinched. They can't really move. There's a chance that Saquon Barkley is rested. If we don't know before the game, it's a risk to start him. And that's why I've also included Matt Breida as well. If they come out and say, hey, Barkley's not playing, Matt Breida would be next guy up and probably would move up into that green category, even though it's a very difficult matchup for these guys going up against Philadelphia. Latavius Murray of the Denver Broncos going against the Chargers. Not a bad matchup, but now that we have Chase Edmonds back in the mix, it's not an offense that's really relying on scoring from its running backs. We got Russ trying to push the ball down the field a little bit more. Latavius Murray, a lot of risk there. And then down on my red category, not too many guys. I got Royce Freeman, who we already know we're not trusting in week 18 regardless. Kareem Hunt, who can't get touches in this offense. And Antonio Gibson, who's been banged up and probably will be rested this week in a game that does not matter for the Washington Commanders. But that's an overall look at the running backs right now. And like I said, we had to address this a little bit differently because there's so many other situations that are at play here with playoff seeding and, trying to get playoff berths. The most important thing in week 18 are finding players that have something to play for. If you have those opportunities, those are the guys I'm going after because they have the want to go out there and win the ball game. If you got some teams that are all eliminated, there's a chance that we see a bunch of backup guys. There's a chance that maybe they're not going 100% to really avoid major injury. So there's always those concerns in a week 18 matchup. Unfortunately, some of y'all playing in week 18. If you are, you got to change that. Next year, got to get into leagues that only play until week 17 at least, because playing in week 18 is an absolute nightmare. Hopefully, we're able to make this picture a little bit clearer for you. If we were, hit the like button down below. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, because our off-season content is going to be straight bangers here in 2023. But hopefully, you guys have a great week here this week. Good luck in your matchups in week 18. Remember, there's more to life than just fantasy football. Let's go out there. Let's be good humans. Let's take care of each other. Let's support each other. And let's have fun along the way while we do it. But for now, I'm going to get out of here for the day. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day. And we'll talk to you later.